Mara Ellison is 32, and she teaches art at a small hill town. She loves quiet days, and she enjoys simple moments with her students. She lives with her husband, Daniel Cross, who is 34 and works as a car engineer. He spends long hours at a large company, and he takes pride in his job. Their life feels calm each day, and it follows a soft rhythm of comfort. They drink warm coffee each morning, and they talk about small plans. In the evening, they cook dinner together, and they share stories from work. On weekends, they walk through the nearby forest, and they listen to the wind. Mara feels safe in this life, and she trusts Daniel without question. She believes their 7-year marriage is strong, and she sees it as home. The air in their world is peaceful and warm, and it carries no fear. It invites the listener to rest for a moment, and it prepares the heart for change. Mara enjoyed sharing stories about her students, and Daniel shared updates about new projects at work. They talked after every long day, and they felt close and safe. They kept a sweet habit of calling each other every noon, and each call brought them comfort. Their voices always sounded warm, and their words felt honest. On weekends, they often drove up the quiet hill, and they enjoyed the fresh air there. Sometimes they visited the old cafe, and it reminded them of their first meeting. Their love once felt steady, and it stayed strong for many years. Daniel held Mara's hand when she felt sad, and she helped him smile when life was hard. Their home felt peaceful in the evenings, and the soft lights made everything calm. They cooked simple meals together, and they talked while preparing each dish. Daniel spoke often about a new co-worker named Lydia Stone, and his tone sounded casual. Lydia worked in marketing, and she was known as friendly and talkative. Mara felt no worry, and she trusted Daniel without question. She believed honesty was natural for him, and she never imagined anything strange. Their days passed gently, and their routines felt safe and warm. The kindness in their home grew stronger, and their bond looked unbreakable. The calm atmosphere created a soft charm, and it helped the listener feel close to them. Everything seemed steady and loving, and nothing hinted at the coming storm. Daniel started to change, and Mara felt it slowly. He dressed sharper each day, and he used a new strong perfume. He also began to visit the gym often, even though he once hated it. He came home late many nights, and he gave quick reasons. He said he met clients, and he said he helped the marketing team. Mara tried to understand him, and she told herself he was stressed. But deep inside, she felt something cold and strange. One morning, Mara cleaned the car before work, and she saw a small box. She picked it up gently, and her hands shook a little. Inside the box was a bright, expensive bracelet. It looked new and beautiful, and it did not belong to her. Her heart dropped fast, and her mind filled with worry. Daniel had never bought jewelry like that for her. When he came home, she showed him the box, and she asked him softly. Daniel looked surprised for a moment, then he said the bracelet belonged to Lydia. He said Lydia sat in the car last week, and he said she must have dropped it. Mara forced a smile, and she nodded quietly. But doubt grew inside her, and it stayed. A few days later, Mara met one of Daniel's co-workers by chance. The co-worker talked with a casual tone, and he mentioned Daniel and Lydia. He said they were very close lately, and he said they worked together all the time. Mara felt her chest tighten, and she tried to stay calm. She told herself it meant nothing, yet her thoughts ran wild. That night, Mara could not sleep, and she stared at the ceiling. She felt fear rising, and she wondered if she was losing Daniel. She loved him deeply, and she believed in their marriage. But the signs grew stronger, and she could not ignore them anymore. The tension reached a small peak one afternoon. Mara checked a social post from Daniel's company, and she saw a photo from a team event. Daniel stood next to Lydia, and both looked very happy. They smiled at each other warmly, and their eyes seemed too bright. The image burned in Mara's mind, and her heart ached in silence. This moment ended the calm in her life. It was the first real shock, and she felt the ground shift under her feet. She knew something was wrong, and she could no longer hide from the truth. The cold evening came slowly, and Daniel dressed in silence. He put on a clean shirt and used his new perfume, and the strong scent filled the room with a strange tension. Mara watched him from the hallway, and her heart felt heavier with every small movement he made. Daniel grabbed his car keys and said he had to meet an important client, and his voice sounded calm but distant, almost like he was speaking from another life. Mara felt a sudden fear rise inside her, and she sensed that something was deeply wrong. She stepped in front of the door and blocked his path, and her voice shook when she finally spoke. She asked, "What is that bracelet? And why are you changing so much?" Daniel looked away and said she was overthinking everything, and he tried to smile but could not make it look real. Mara felt pain tighten her chest, yet she stood firm because she needed the truth. Then Daniel's phone vibrated in his hand, and a bright message lit up the screen. The message said, "Lydia, I'm here," and the room seemed to freeze for a short moment. Mara stared at the phone and could not breathe, and Daniel closed his eyes as if he knew everything was falling apart. She asked again, more softly this time, and asked why he had lied and why he had pulled away from her. Daniel finally sat down on the edge of the sofa, and he looked tired and defeated, like he had carried a secret for too long. He said he felt trapped in the marriage, and he did not know how to talk about it. He said Lydia made him feel free and alive, and he said he did not plan for anything to happen, but everything just changed with time. Mara felt her legs weaken, and she stood still because the shock was too strong. She thought of all their years together, and she thought of every morning coffee and every quiet walk, and she wondered how those memories could mean so little now. Daniel tried to explain himself, but his words only caused more pain. Mara sat across from him, and tears ran down her face without a sound. She asked if he still loved her, and Daniel did not answer for a long time. His silence told her everything, and the truth felt sharper than any spoken words. The house grew quiet as both of them realized the marriage had reached its end. Daniel stood up slowly and walked to the bedroom, and he packed a small bag without saying much. Mara watched him fold his clothes with shaking hands, and every movement felt like another goodbye. Daniel walked toward the door and said he was sorry, but the words felt empty and far too late. Mara could only nod because her voice was gone, and the weight of the moment crushed her. When Daniel stepped outside, the cold air rushed in behind him. The door closed with a dull sound, and that sound marked the end of their 7-year marriage. Mara stood alone in the silent house, and the warm life she once knew disappeared in a single night. The breaking point had come, and nothing would ever be the same again. Mara now lived in a quiet house, and the rooms felt cold. She ate simple meals alone, and the silence grew heavy each night. She often sat by the window, and her thoughts moved in circles. She felt lost inside, and her heart carried great pain. Every small sound scared her, and every memory made her cry. Her mind kept asking painful questions, and she blamed herself for everything. Many nights were long, and sleep did not come easily. She held a pillow tight, and she tried to calm her breath. She wondered if she had failed, and she feared she was not enough. But after a few weeks, a slow change began inside her. She found her old journals, and she read her own words again. She saw her dreams on the page, and she remembered forgotten hopes. She also opened an old box, and she found her past drawings. Each picture carried gentle colors, and each line felt like her voice. She realized she had stopped creating, and she had lost her inner light. One morning, she stood before the mirror, and she looked closely. Her eyes were tired, but her face still showed quiet strength. She whispered soft words, and she allowed herself to breathe again. Slowly, her thoughts became clearer, and she understood the truth. The pain was real, but the blame was not hers to carry. She had given love with honesty, and she had lived with trust. Mara finally spoke to herself, and her voice was steady. She said she deserved true love, and she deserved real respect. She said she would not accept lies, and she would not fear loneliness. This was the first step of her awakening, and it changed her heart. Hope touched her again, and she felt a small light returning. The healing had begun, and she was ready for her new path. Mara slowly returned to her old passions, and she tried to rebuild hope. She began to paint again, and she walked around town for fresh ideas. She joined a local art class, and she felt nervous at first. She wanted a new start, and she hoped the class could help her grow. In the class, she met Evan Hale, and he seemed warm and calm. He worked as a photographer, and he loved simple moments in daily life. Evan never pushed her to forget the past, and he never judged her pain. He listened with care, and he spoke with gentle words. Mara felt safe near him, and she slowly opened her heart again. She shared small stories with him, and he shared his own fears too. Mara wanted her home to feel new, and she began to change it. She painted the living room walls, and she cleaned old shelves with care. She bought small plants for the windows, and she placed flowers near her desk. She added soft lights in each corner, and the house felt warm again. Mara focused more on her work, and she found new joy in teaching art. She set simple goals each week, and she felt proud when she reached them. She walked in the park each morning, and she breathed deeply to calm her mind. She watched the trees change color, and she felt her heart heal slowly. Sometimes the sadness returned, and she allowed herself to feel it. She knew healing was slow, and she knew pain needed time to fade. Evan supported her journey, and he respected her space completely. He showed her new photo spots, and he invited her to join small trips. They explored quiet streets together, and they laughed at small mistakes. They shared warm drinks in small cafes, and they talked about dreams and art. Mara realized she did not need to rush, and she did not need to replace old love. She wanted to love herself first, and she wanted to feel whole again. She felt stronger each day, and she trusted her own steps. She began to enjoy silence again, and she found peace in simple routines. Her heart grew lighter with time, and her mind became clear and stable. She understood that healing was personal, and she learned to move at her own pace. Mara no longer lived in fear, and she no longer blamed herself. She felt free inside her soul, and she welcomed the new chapter slowly forming. This journey taught her courage, and it taught her quiet strength. She learned to stand alone with grace, and she learned to hope again. Mara saw Daniel again 1 year later, and it felt strange. She met him near the supermarket, and she felt very calm. Daniel looked tired and stressed, and he held his bag tight. He tried to smile at Mara, but his smile was weak. He said he was sorry, and his voice was very low. He said he made mistakes, and he wished things were different. Mara listened without fear, and she felt no pain now. She had changed so much, and she stood with quiet strength. She said, "Thank you for leaving," and her voice was warm. She added, "Because you left, I learned to stand alone." Daniel lowered his eyes, and he said nothing more. He understood her words, and he knew she had moved on. Mara walked away slowly, and she felt light inside. She did not look back, and she did not feel doubt. Her heart was calm again, and her steps felt free. She knew her future was bright, and she trusted her path. Loss does not destroy us, and it does not end our story. It helps us grow strong, and it shows who truly cares. Pain can teach us courage, and courage opens new doors. When we forgive others, we free our own hearts. What about you? Do you believe heartbreak can help someone grow? Share your thoughts and subscribe for more English listening stories.